Hi guys, I hope you're all well. Miss Dursley here with your final maths lesson of this week. Okay, you've done really well this week. Well done. I know it's been really hard. I know we've been doing remote learning now for, I think this is the 7th week, but it is really hard to get back into the swing of things at school, especially after a half term. So I can imagine to get back into the swing of things at home has been especially hard. So well done to everybody that's been sending in their work, okay, and that has been completing their work as well. Really well done. Okay, so today is going to look slightly different because we've reached the end, excuse me, we've reached the end of our unit now on position and direction. Okay, and because we've reached the end of it, what we're going to do is we're going to do the end of unit check today. So the end of unit check is a little bit of a kind of review, a little test to see how well you've done, okay, with the whole, and see how much you have remembered, how much of that knowledge has become sticky knowledge in your minds. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, within this video, is just run through each of the questions, talk you through them, and then you're just going to go off and answer all these questions, okay? So we're going to start off with this one. This should be in your packs. Remember, if you haven't collected your pack yet, absolutely fine. This will be on your class story, okay, for you to answer. Okay, so things that we need to remember first. We did this a little bit yesterday where we talked about the numbers within the brackets where have been separated by a comma. They are called coordinates. Okay, and then we have got our grid reference here. We've got our horizontal axis that goes across the bottom. We've got our vertical axis that runs across the side. Okay, and those both go up in intervals. The only intervals we've been looking at are intervals of 1. Okay, but that's not always going to be the case. As you move on into year 5 and year 6, these intervals might change to going up in 2s, 5s, 10s, okay, but we have been focusing on intervals going up in 1s, okay, across the horizontal and across the vertical. And we also know that when we plot coordinates, we have to follow the horizontal line first. So our first number given is our horizontal, and our second number that is given runs across the vertical. Okay, so that's 2 things to remember when we're looking at coordinates. Okay, yesterday we had a little bit of new learning when we found that the language when we're plotting between 2 coordinates, or when we're giving directions between 2 coordinates, it's called a translation. Okay, so when we're talking about going up, down, left or right between 2 points on a grid, they are called our translation. So that also might come up. Okay, so your first job in this first question is which point has been plotted in the correct position. So we've got our grid reference here. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4 points that have been plotted. All are labelled as letters. And now all of these letters have been given the grid references here, the coordinates. Okay, all you need to do is check each coordinate. So for example, my turn first, I will check P needs to be at 1, 1. So I'm going to go to 1, 1. Is the letter P there? Yep, so it's not this one. This one is fine, because remember, I'm looking for the one in the wrong position. And I'm going to work through each letter and find out which one of those is not in the correct position. Okay, once I've done that, I'm just going to either circle or tick whichever one is in the wrong position. Okay, are we happy with that? Perfect. Now, moving on to question 2. Okay, points E and F, so we've got a grid reference again here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see. Okay, I don't really want you looking at the next question though yet. So here, points E and F are 2 corners of a square. So when we were looking, I think it was this week, we were plotting these coordinates on the grid. We also found that when we plotted some coordinates, we could make shapes. Okay, and we were remembering about what we know about shapes, the vertices of a shape. Okay, that's where the 2 sides meet. Okay, so we've got points E and F are 2 corners of a square. Which of these points could not be another corner of the same square? So if E and F, for example, E and F are 2 corners of a square, which points could not be? Okay, now the clue here is that this word here, points, has got an S. That makes it plural. That means there's going to be more than one of those letters that would not make a square. Now, this is where we need to use all of our knowledge of our shapes again. What do we remember about shapes? Now, I remember that shape is a type of quadrilateral because it has got 4 sides and 4 corners. I also remember that it is the only regular quadrilateral, which means it's the only regular shape, or only regular 4-sided shape that has got all of the sides the same length and all of the corners the same angle. Okay, so all of the interior angles are the same. So I can see straight away which points I definitely know would make a square and which points would not. So because it is plural, I am looking to tick or circle more than one. Okay, so which of these points would definitely not make up a square? The clue here would be draw it out. If you know that these are the corners of a square, okay, which ones would not be another corner? Okay, have a think. Okay, there's a one trick one in there as well. Remember, it has to be a corner. It's not something that you pass along the side. It's got to be the corner where the 2 sides meet. Okay. Right, moving on to question 3 then. Question 3. You're using the same grid. So use this grid for questions 3 to 5. So 3, 4, and 5, all of these questions here are using this grid reference. Okay. So you need to read these questions really, really carefully. Question 3, which point would these instructions take you to? And then it's got a question mark. So firstly, if I start at point G and move 3 right and 1 down, so there's my translation here, move 3 right and 1 down, I'm going to follow that instruction. And at which point is it going to stop at? Okay, so all I want you to do now is point to point G. I want you to move 3 to the right and 1 down and circle which point you would end at. Well done. Okay, now using the same grid reference, which instructions describe the journey from G to N? So I need to move from G to N. I've got 4 different translations here. I'm going to follow each one and find out which one gets me from G to N. So firstly, I'm going to go 4 left, 3 down. I remember that left is that way. 1, 2, 3, 4 left, 1, 2, 3 down. I've not reached N, so it cannot be A. Okay, I want you to do the same again, exactly the same as what I've done. Start at G, follow each translation, and then you tell me which one of those describe the journey from G to N. Okay, perfect. Right, once you have done that, question 5 is also on this grid. So the journey, 1 left and 3 down, finishes at point G. So this is a little bit of a trick question because now we're not starting from here, we're ending here. To find out I've got to go 3 left and 1 down, 1 left and 3 down to get to this point, I'm going to do the inverse. I'm going to swap these instructions round. So instead of going left, I'm going to go right. Instead of going down, I'm going to go up. Okay, so swap these directions down, rounds, okay, to the opposite, the inverse, in order to find out where we started. This is my end point. Where did I start? Okay, and then finally, you should hopefully have a spare grid on your grid references available. If not to worry, I will put a separate grid on class stories for you to use. Okay, so you need to draw a quadrilateral with vertices 4, 8, 7, 5, 7, 0, and 2, 5 on a grid. Which point could you move to change the quadrilateral to a square? And what are the coordinates on the new point? Okay, so remember, a quadrilateral is a shape with 4 sides. Okay, so for example, a rectangle is a type of quadrilateral, a trapezium, and parallelogram. These are all types of quadrilaterals. As long as they've got 4 sides and 4 interior corners, they are a 4-sided shape. They are a quadrilateral. What you need to do is draw this quadrilateral out, okay, and then how would you change these coordinates in order to change the quadrilateral to a square? Remember, a square has got to have all the sides the same and all the corners the same as well. Every corner needs to be a 90. Okay, let's see how you get on with that. Remember, if there's anything that you're not sure of, please do let us know and we can help you. Okay, But next week is going to look slightly different. Next week, we're not going to be working on worksheets. We've got a brand new kind of program we want you to use in order to recap all of our learning so far. Okay, please do send us your work in, and have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.